After so long, I have finally found the graceful Peaches Castle as created by Martin, known as Brick Snaps on Instagram. Sir, it's a pleasure and an honor to see this in real life and to be here witnessing this. Thank you so much, man. You've made me so happy. I appreciate this so much.
Brian, this is my gift to you. Through COVID, I watched you for hours talk about Peaches Castle. I didn't even know what it was, but I knew that if I could build this, I would make you and Beyond the Brick very happy. So I hope you are.
I absolutely love it. And, you asked me, hey, Brian, what secrets should I toss into here? What castle model should it be? And I can safely say plenty of Easter eggs in here, lots going on. And I know this was a little bit of a challenge for you, which is what drew you to it as well, with these columns on the side. So what was your most difficult challenge when tackling this castle?
So you're right, yeah. So my decision to do this was based on 3 criteria. Something that I haven't built before, to engage with the Nintendo community, because I haven't built in that space before, and then to do something that would draw other people in. And then when I reached out to you, I was like, hey, which one should I do? The biggest challenge was you picked the hardest one, because there's been many renditions of Peach's Castle, and the challenge is you've got 4 floating towers that have to float. And it's like, how am I going to build that? That's how I started the build. And I had to figure that out. And once I did, the rest of it kind of went smoothly. I knew very little about this castle, but I'd done enough research in it to know some of the Easter eggs you told me, like the mosaic. Oh, not the mosaic. I guess it is a stained glass window mosaic. The floor as you go in. I think those are 2 of the issues. Yoshi on the roof. Some of those aspects were really important to include in the build. I said there was going to be no interior. Well, I gave you the interior that I think is necessary. And then the other hard one is there's no minifigures. I normally build with minifigures. So I've managed to take some of my children's Lego collection and turn princesses into the real Peach for you.
No, and it's excellent. And the amount of effort that went into making these columns on the side, these are heavy. And to make sure that tension is there and it can sustain that weight, that's a challenge. And, you see things like that on Lego Masters Under the Gun, and you really have to factor all that in, especially into a build like this, transporting it as well. So you did an excellent job with that. Everything from the water, everything down to it. And especially if you take a look on the inside, I appreciate that you really have to look down. If you're a kid looking at this muck, you have to dive right in and see the interior.
Yeah, so the intention of it, first of all, my wife said, what is that? That's pretty, right? But so I know that's the average adult who's going to look at it. And the intention of the majority of my builds are to get down on a lower level and see something from the eye view. So the image that you're seeing right now is that a child is rewarded at, and an adult only is rewarded by taking the steps necessary, right? So every intention was in there. You talk about the towers. I've built a few towers before, and I could have easily have defaulted to the same style that I've done, but the castle is brick. And I had to make sure it looked like brick with a tile on the front. Then I had to make that work on the round towers as well. I couldn't transition to something else. So that then made it doubly difficult because I've never built towers that way before. And then as you say about the weight, I can't tell you how heavy they are. The main section of the castle, not including towers, is 45 pounds. So, and it's necessary to make sure that there's no slack in any of the towers. So they are intertwined at different levels on Technics. They structurally pull on each other so that there's no movement. So,
Gotcha. And now, so how does this come apart for transportation? Each of these towers come off, or what's your method?
yes, and I'd love to show you, but I won't at this time.
no, don't do that.
So every tower comes off, the front comes off, the back comes off, the roofs come off. And it fits in a couple of boxes other than the big castle, which I have to walk out and sweat with. But you mentioned something about the idea of building a transport. I have to think, if I'm going to drive 13 hours, how is it going to get here without braking? So that also has to be factored into how I build it.
Yeah, right, because compared to what else you have here with the Quidditch field and then the tower, you can kind of tell where it would come apart for a little bit easier transport. But this, it seems very complete and very dense with the way that you built the bricks together. It's very tight, you know. So I figured that might be a little bit of a challenge for you.
Yep.
And even having the red roof pieces here, you know, they're not entirely perfectly one color red. There's a little bit of miscoloring in there, which adds to the feel of it. You know, it's a little bit of a different texture to it as well. It's not all entirely white for the castle. It's got character to it. And it's so different from what you think of when you see a castle. It's red and white. It stands out, and that's what's going to draw people to it on top of everything else you got here.
So with that, so I have an appreciation for that. Haven't built it, right? I have a lot of drive for how do I draw people in? How do I engage with someone? It is a castle, and yeah, people are rewarded for getting down and looking and seeing Peach and seeing Mario. But those that don't appreciate it as a castle, and I've built great castles before, and that's how they should be, and they're wonderful. But how do I engage someone in that castle environment that wasn't? My little girl that might roll and say, oh, I like that, who wouldn't say it to a castle? And that gives me a little bit of pleasure.
Yeah, and I love that perspective. That's what I look for when I see creations like this at these shows. It's thinking not just about the build itself, but how other people other than yourself can appreciate that. And that's what I love about Peach's Castle. That's what I love about you making this castle. And I am over the moon that I got to see it in person. And just so you know, that was the final nail in the coffin for me to come here. I'm like, all right, well, Martin's going to be there with the castle. I mean, Beyond the Brick is one thing, but to see the castle in real life, you know.
Well, kudos to you, because it would have been finished because I left you that subtle get out of jail free card for me of, oh, I'm not sure it's going to be done. And I was expecting you to be like, that's okay. But you're like, diamonds are made under pressure. And then I went dark on the internet for another week. So, yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to pressure you, but it looks incredible with what you did here. I'm sure you're incredibly proud of yourself, and your little girls love seeing this. So thank you so much for taking the time to do it. May I shake your hand,
mate.
sir?
Yeah, hey,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to Beyond the Brick. We'll catch you in the next one. Who knows what comes next for Martin? We'll have to wait and see.